What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my Week 2 NBA Power Rankings. Let's get into it. Just so you know, it's just a weekend, so there's not going to be too much movement here. But I wanted to get this out for you guys. So let's start out with the number 30 team. Is going to be the Indiana Pacers. They've started out the year 1-3. I still think this team's just the worst team in the NBA right now. Just not a lot of talent, and that's clear right now. I think that this team's going to be in contention for the number 1 pick by the end of the year. Number 29, we're going to have the Houston Rockets, also at 1-3, getting their first win last game. Rockets a little bit more interesting than a team such as the Pacers. A lot more young talent, but this team still, for the Rockets, they've lost out on John Wall. Clearly a big miss for them after this offseason. Don't really have a lot of veteran help there. Just not a very good basketball team, and still a very big rebuild going on down there in Houston. And then number 28, we're going to have the Orlando Magic staying at the same spot as well, although they have started out 0-4. One of the few teams that are 0-4 through these few weeks. But yeah, Orlando, again, like I said, they got the talent. With young players, they got the young Duke Polio. I can't even pronounce his last name, but they got that young Duke player. They got Suggs. It's a team that's, you would think would be a little bit more scrappy and a little bit more energetic with those young pieces there. But with the Rockets too, they just don't have a lot of veteran experience down there, and it's just not a very good basketball team down there in Orlando. And then to round out the bad tier, we're going to have the number 27 team. That is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Actually going to drop down in the hunt tier into this bad tier. An 0-3 start, disappointing start. I expected this Thunder team to be a little bit more scrappy. I think I was a little bit wrong on this team through 3 weeks. Just have not done good to start out the year whatsoever. And you just expect more out of a team. I wouldn't say more, but they got Gilius Alexander. It's not that bad of a talent roster point. I just don't know. I think this Thunder team has very underwhelmed through the first 3 games. So that is the bad tier right there. Let's move on to not the decent tier. That's my bad. In the hunt tier. Teams that I do think can make the playoffs by the end of the year, but I'm not, going to pick them to. All right, let's move on to 26. We're going to have the Sacramento Kings dropping down 3 spots. Just the same Kings team every year, man. Just a bad basketball team. They have talent, but not well coached really at all. This defense is not good, at all. If you look at the Kings right now, they've given up 118 points through these games. This team's just not very good. Let's be honest with the Kings. It's just a part of their nature. They have played some tough opponents to start of the year in the Trailblazers and the Clippers and the Warriors, but still, I would expect them to at least win one of those games, and they have disappointed through these first few weeks. So let's move on to number 25, the Spurs, a classic Spurs start out to the year at 3-1. You'll have to see it if you're a San Antonio fan. At 3-1 through the first 3 weeks, this team just is going to be a scrappy team under Greg Popovich. They've won 3 straight now. It's just a scrappy basketball team, and that's really what Greg Popovich is. A team that's coached by Popovich, it's going to be that way. And I think the Spurs are a very solid basketball team right now, and they are going to be at number 25, jumping up a spot right there. Let's move on to number 24. We're going to have the Detroit Pistons staying at the same spot. I know they've had a disappointing 3 games at 1-2. But, I feel like that they were going to start the year a little bit struggling. But, it's only 3 games. Cade Cunningham and this team can still have a good performances. If you look at Cunningham's stats, Bojan Bogdanovic has been a big addition to them. He's averaged 19 points per game, and Cunningham is averaging 18. So, yeah, Cunningham, like I said, trading for Bogdanovic, they're not going to have that one player that's, has to, carry them as Cunningham was, as they were expecting last year. But Bogdanovich now comes in. They have two solid scoring options, and they're just a solid basket. They're just a decent basketball team, and hopefully they can keep it rolling. Defense does have some concerns there. Let's move on to number 23. We're going to have the Washington Wizards dropping down 2 spots just because really of 2 big teams jumping ahead of them. If you look at the Wizards right now, they are 2-1 through the first 2 weeks. I mean, obviously extending Bradley Beal, they felt like they had to do that. He's going to be their leading scorer basically every game. They obviously got Kristaps Porzingis that's going to help them out win some games. But yeah, I still don't expect too much out of the Wizards this year. They're just not very good of a team right now, and I believe they're the number 23 team. All right, 22, we're going to have the New York Knicks. Also going to be dropping down 2 spots with the Wizards, mainly because of the other 2 teams jumping ahead them that we're going to list soon. But yeah, the Knicks, I mean, they went all in on Jalen Brunson through the first few games. He's averaged 17 points. Julius Randle playing much better, averaging 21 points and 9 rebounds. Brunson's all up, averaging 7 assists as well. So you like to see that from the Knicks. They're 1-2, trying to shake off a very disappointing. No, not 1-2. They are 2-1. So yeah, they're trying to shake off a disappointing year from last year, and we're going to see if they can get it done. All right, let's move on to number 21. We're going to have the Utah Jazz, a very surprising start out to the year. They are 3-1 through 4 games, lost to the Rockets, but have beat some solid basketball teams in the Jazz. I mean, it's just Will Hardy, the new head coach that they got, been a very good hiring for the Jazz. He has really brought this team together. This team, obviously, maybe this team could play a little bit more loose now that they don't have the expectations put on them as of last year as a contender. And yeah, I feel like the Jazz are playing a lot more loose because of that. It's a very different squad. And it's been a solid start out to the year. So they're going to be jumping up 4 spots. Actually, the most change out of any team from this week is the Jazz. So that is the in the hunt tier. We're going to have to see if any of those teams jump into the play-in tier. We'll see. All right, let's move on to number 20. We're going to have the Portland Trail Blazers jumping up 2 spots. A very impressive 4-0 start out to the year for Damian Lillard's squad. You like to see it for the Blazers. I mean, I thought, coming into this year that, Damian Lillard would be gone, but he comes back to this team, signs a big deal with the Blazers. He wants to stick loyal to this program, and I respect it for the Blazers. And he has averaged 33 points per game, really proven why he was paid that much. And this team, getting the job done. I feel like this team now has a little bit more of a fresh environment. They're a better culture without their head coach. And it's just been a lot better for the Portland Trail Blazers. And they're going to be 4-0 because of it. So solid start out to the year for the Blazers. Hopefully they can keep it rolling for them. And they're going to be jumping up 2 spots if I haven't mentioned. Let's move on to number 19. We're going to have the Charlotte Hornets at 2-1 as well. LaMelo Ball and his squad is going to be dropping down a spot because of just a more impressive team from before. Yeah, the Hornets, they're just okay, I would say. A good enough team. They got some young pieces there. I think they're pretty solid coached. But yeah, LaMelo. Yeah, this team is just a solid basketball team. So that is the Charlotte Hornets. Let's move on to number 18. We're going to have the Toronto Raptors. Drop it down to 1 spot at 2-2. Toronto, 2-2 start, just what we knew them to be as a competitive basketball team. They got some solid talent there, but not any world beater, not any team that you're probably going to expect to make a deep run. Just going to be a very solid competitive basketball team and will likely end up in the playoffs at the end of the year. All right, number 17, we're going to have the New Orleans Pelicans. Going to be jumping up 2 spots at 2-1. Pelicans, Zion Williamson, it looks like he might miss some time, but with him in this team, has been impressive. Even without Ingram, he's been out for some time due to a concussion. But yeah, I think the Pelicans, it's been an impressive start with Williamson. They obviously got their new coach there. It feels like it's a better environment down there in New Orleans. So I'm not mad with the start for the Pelicans. Zion obviously having some tough time staying healthy. Hopefully he can be okay. But that is the Pelicans at 17. All right, let's move on to number 16. We're going to have the Chicago Bulls at 2-2, staying at the same spot. If you look at the Bulls, not too much to say, honestly, with Chicago. Just this big franchise that they got there. They're trying to build a solid team under Levine and this roster. But yeah, really 2-2 start. About what I expected with this tough schedule. And that's the Bulls. Let's move on to number 15. The LA Lakers. Clearly a disappointing start to the year. Only going to be dropping down 1 spot because Bulls haven't been played too well, and I don't think that they should drop down any further. I think Anthony Davis, man, he has played horrible for LA, and a lot of the concern for this team has got to go towards AD. Russell Westbrook, just really not it for this team. And it just feels like the same team as last year. 0-3 start, one of the few teams that haven't won a game yet to be playing right now. We'll see if they can turn things around, but like I said, I'm not going to be doing too much movement. It's just like 3 or 4 games for each of these teams. But Lakers, obviously there's some concerns there for sure. So that is LA. Let's move on to number 14. We're going to have the Atlanta Hawks. With Trae Young, this team started out pretty solid at 2-1. Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, clearly adding that little depth there for a second scoring option is Murray. And this team is playing some solid basketball under him. If we look at the Hawks numbers it's loading for a bit. But yeah, like I said, Murray, I think, has been a very solid addition for the Hawks. Trae Young averaging 25 points. Murray averaging 19 points per game. Young is spreading the ball a lot more, averaging 11 assists. You like to see that. Collins, this is just a solid basketball team this year, and it could be a scary team to keep moving up pretty far in these rankings if they keep up the good pace. But that is the Hawks. Let's move on to number 13. We're going to have the T-Wolves staying at the same spot, a 2-2 start to the year. The Rudy Gobert trade. Rudy Gobert's been pretty darn good for the Timberwolves. It's worked out. Karl-Anthony Towns has had a solid start. But this Timberwolves team, about what I expected entering into the year. Going to have some growing pains with Rudy in there, but just a good team. And I do believe that they're the 7th best team in the West. All right, let's move on to number 12 and into the playoff tier. We're going to have the Philadelphia 76ers. 1-3, dropping down 2 spots. Obviously not the start you would want for Philly with James Harden and Joel Embiid and this team. It's just not a very good 76ers team. And they got to be better, clearly. Through the first 4 weeks, it's just not been good for 76ers, but I do still believe in Embiid. He's one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. I do think James Harden, I'm not so sure about him. He's got to be better. And overall, this whole team needs to be better. But that is the Sixers. Drop it down 2 spots. It's just the first week. Like I said, I'm not going to overreact too much to a 1-3 start. All right, let's move on to number 11. We're going to have the Cleveland Cavaliers. The accusation of Donovan Mitchell's been huge for Cleveland. And 2-1 start. They are balling out down there. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. This team is a solid team. And you like to see it if you're a Cavs fan. I think this team's going to be a very competitive team and could be a contender in some time. But like I said, I'm going to be saying this for a lot of these teams, I guess. But it's just through 3 weeks. We're going to have to see if Donovan Mitchell continues to look like this. But a good start for Cleveland. Let's move on to number 10. We're going to have the Dallas Mavericks at 1-1. I believe they are 1-1. Let me check. Just going to be jumping up a spot, mainly due to the Sixers dropping down. Yes, they are 1-1. Believe it or not, they do have a plus 19.5, which is the best in the NBA, I believe. Yeah, the best in the NBA right now. Keep in mind, they've only played 2 games, though, so just keep that a little bit in mind. But yeah, the Mavericks clearly are just kind of what I expected here. Luka Doncic, he's a very good player, but I don't think he's going to be able to carry the Mavericks to a championship or anything, and that's why they are a playoff team in my eyes. All right, that is the playoff tier. Let's go on to the contender tier. 9 teams here. Let's break them all down. Starting with the number 19, we're gonna have the Denver Nuggets. A little bit of a sluggish start at 2-2 to the year for Jokic's squad in Denver. But obviously, Jamal Murray, he's gonna take some time to get better coming back. And I have faith that he will be back. Just a solid, well-coached basketball team that's just going to be good, I think, for quite some time for the Nuggets. But it's just week 1, like I said, 2-2 start, maybe a little bit sluggish at times, losing to the Jazz and their other team. I totally forgot their other team. But yeah, we're going to see what happens with the Nuggets. Let's move on to number 8. We're going to have the Brooklyn Nets staying at the same spot. I know it's a 1-2 start. It's disappointing for Brooklyn. You don't like to see that at all. But, I mean, I still have faith in the Brooklyn Nets. I think that they're going to be able to turn things around. I think KD, he's got to really rally around this team a bit more. And Kyrie Irving, KD got to get on the same page here because other words, one of them is going to go on. I mean, both of them are averaging the most points, but other than KD and Kyrie Irving, really there's nothing good to speak of here in Nets town. But yeah, staying at the same spot. I'm not going to overreact to a 1-2 start to the year for Brooklyn. And all right, let's move on to number 7, the Miami Heat, who are 1-3 to start out the year. Interesting. Going to be dropping down a spot this week. Yeah, I mean, the Heat, I was expecting this team to be very consistent all year. It's kind of worrisome that they've started out 1-3, but clearly I do believe this team could turn things around. Jimmy Butler, you got to have faith in him with this squad. It's a very good basketball team down there in Miami, and I'm not worried about the Heat. I think that they're going to be just fine, but a little bit of a sluggish start down there in Miami. Let's move on to number 6. We're going to have the Phoenix Suns stealing the Heat spot and jumping up a spot. Devin Booker's squad trying to get things going to start out the year. But 2-1, just have had a decent enough start. This team obviously is clearly proven to be a regular season team. We're going to see if the Suns team can be more than that, come deeper into the season and into the playoffs. It's obviously a long ways away. They got to focus on the now, but that's really what I'm most intrigued about the Suns, is if they're going to have a good year in the playoffs this season. All right, let's move on to number 5. We're going to have the Memphis Grizzlies. This young squad has had a 2-2 start, so it's not been all, rainbows and butterflies for the Grizzlies. They've had 2 losses to start out the year, 2 disappointing ones, but yeah, I have faith in John Morant in this squad. I do think that they're well coached. I do think that this defense is pretty solid and the offense is explosive. And I think that they're going to be just fine down there in Memphis. Let's move on to number 4. We're going to have the Boston Celtics staying at the same spot at 3-1. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the Celtics. I'm not really worried about Boston. They're just a solid team here at 3-1. Just have done very good, trying to, be a very good basketball team They did lose their first game, I believe, last night, but that is fine for Boston. You can't win them all, and that is the Celtics. Let's move on to number 3. We're going to have the Milwaukee Bucks. 2-0 start. I believe this is the next, besides the Trailblazers, the only undefeated team remaining in the NBA. And Giannis Antetokounmpo's squad holds it. Now, they have only had 2 games to start out the year, so you got to take that into mind. But, yeah, the Bucks, I feel like, are a very good team. Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously, this team's going to be just fine, and I'm excited to see their play in the postseason this season. All right, moving on to number 2, we're going to have the LA Clippers. 2-1 start. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George coming back. This team's trying to, prove why they're so good. And I think that they've done a decent job at that. Obviously, they're going to struggle probably to start out the year, but they've proven that they can play some good basketball, and I'm going to give him a number 2. And then number 1, clearly the defending champs are still my best team in the league, staying at the same spot with Curry and this offense. In my opinion, they are the best team. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. A little bit of a fast one. Through 1 week of the league, it's really hard to really judge these 3 or 4 games, however many these teams played. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Peace out.